Coin is a digital token that is pegged to the value of a normal asset, such as the US dollar. They are developed to reflect the price stability of said assets, being fiat, gold, etc. Also said to be easy to use for novice crypto users, people that have a little experience with crypto, which is totally fine, and low transactional cost. Previously, they were described as safety nets, store of values in crypto, because they're described as being one-to-one. They were also created to reduce the volatility in the crypto market. For cryptocurrencies, because not all cryptos can be swapped or purchased with other cryptos due to being native to a particular blockchain. For example, Atom to Ether. You can't just swap those. They're not on the same blockchain. So you can use a stable coin to later swap or purchase a different crypto. And to clarify, they don't have to be on the same blockchain to swap. However, there are some blockchains that have limitations where you just can't swap them that way. So essentially, you would use a stable coin to later swap or purchase a different cryptocurrency. Most stable coins are interoperable across multiple blockchains, even if they're specifically native to a particular blockchain. Example, USDC. Also, for example, sometimes people use USDC to send over to Ethereum because, as we know, moving and navigating with Ethereum can be quite expensive. So they're kind of cost effective if you're, using a protocol and you don't want to, waste, your money in fees. So what you can sometimes do is send it over via a bridge using, a stable coin that was fundamentally easier, and then you could swap that one on the bridge. It's a little technical, but essentially it's just an ease of use if you're going to be doing various transaction within the crypto space. There are 6 types of different stable coins, but for the sake of this video, I will only go over 5 of them because one is a combination and relies on really strange technical knowledge, and I believe it's more of a combination of 2 different ones. So I won't waste anyone's time by going deeply into it. But the 5 are fiat collateralized stablecoins, crypto collateralized stablecoins, algorithmic supply stablecoins, hybrid stablecoins, metal-backed stablecoins, and then the 6th category, which I'm not going over, is alternative stablecoins. Stablecoins maintain their pegs by the conditions stated by the type of stablecoin it is. In the case of fiat collateralized stablecoins, they are backed by the currency it's pegged to, which is the stablecoin which is backed by the collateral held in the reserve, and it must remain equivalent to the number of stablecoins in current circulation. So the reserve is essentially supposed to mirror the stablecoin. And then its correlation to the US dollar. And then in a few minutes, I'm going to go over those different categories. So just to reiterate, the 5 classes of stablecoin that we're referring to in this video are fiat collateralized stablecoins, crypto collateralized stablecoins, algorithmic supply stablecoins, and metal-backed stablecoins. So fiat collateralized stablecoins, the examples that we have are USDT, True USD, Circle USD, and the Gemini dollar. They simply maintain price level and stability by storing fiat in reserves to support each coin and maintain a 1-to-1 ratio. For example, USDT is equivalent to 1 USD dollar. The hypothetical theory is that as long as the reserve currency remains stable, the stable coin can maintain its value. However, one issue that fiat-based stablecoin faces is transparency with the cash reserve amount held at all times. One example of this issue of transparency is Tethered, which was previously sued by the New York Attorney General, and the lawsuit revealed that Tether only had 3% of cash within its reserves, which is questionable because if it wants to still qualify for the stablecoin fiat version of a fiat version and not be classified as a hybrid, you would assume that they would have all cash in their reserves. So again, because there is no regulatory clarity and no official person to, define clear guidelines, there is some gray area with how they claim the allocation of reserves, because no one's going into the reserve or saying, let me see your reserve. So, again, some, projects, if they're not morally bound, they're not going to do the right thing. And that's, not to say that anyone isn't doing the right thing. However, until I see a fully transparent reserve, I'm still going to, reserve that comment. Crypto-collateralized stablecoins are backed by a pie of one or more cryptocurrencies. They are considered volatile due to the fluctuating assets inside of them. Henceforth, they're normally over-collateralized. They usually require users to lock their collateral coins in a smart contract that can be liquidated if the collateral drops super low in value. In this case, the liquidation will be replaced by the stablecoin. Examples are, which I didn't know this until recently, Wrap BTC and DAI, which is pegged to Wrap BTC, obviously it's pegged to BTC, and then DAI, which is pegged to the US dollar but backed by ETH and other crypto. I love this because crypto collateralized stablecoins, it shows put your money where your mouth is. If you believe in a project, back your project by it. Or I think and then using wrapped BTC and DAI maybe might be a safer trading strategy for some. So, I know what's backing it. I'm aware of its intrinsic value by the buys and sells. And it's just quite obvious to me. The downside is, let's say, you're buying wrapped Bitcoin and it tanks. I mean, that's just something you would know from using a cryptocurrency. But in terms of putting your money where your mouth is, to me, this is the most logical option in this context. So this makes sense to me. And also to explain, so if the value dropped low and the smart contract was liquidated, in return you would be rewarded with the original said asset, either at the price point of liquidation or whatever minimum that they would place within the smart contract. Like, if it drops in value, we're just going to give you the equivalent back right now because we can't maintain it as a wrapped item. I believe that would be the case. And now I'm going to go over the bane of my current existence, which is algorithmic stablecoins. So the issue with them is that by theory and definition, they sometimes hold reserves. So the majority of them are not required by any means to hold reserves, which is problematic. So they function by providing a strategy to keep stablecoins' value by controlling its supply through an algorithm, which can be a native program using a stated formula. So some are executed with the help of a smart contract that automatically reduces and increases the supply of tokens to create price stability, which sounds familiar, the same way UST was balanced in with Terra, and they work together to maintain supply or to maintain price. So they mostly depend on market sentiment mobility to maintain stability. However, again, problematic because the formula can be manipulated or taken advantage of in an arbitrage setting. And smart contracts, again, if they're set to do something, they can't really be canceled. They can be forked, but they can't be, you can fork it and create a new project out of it, but you can't really cancel it once you set up the terms to how this formula operates and how the stable coin and the coin would work together. You just can't break that. It's basically how in an algorithmic stable coin agreement, essentially, they maintain their peg by the relationship formed by the algorithm, essentially. So again, they mostly depend on market sentiment and momentum for stability. Can be manipulated if someone understands this relationship and can throw it off balance. And if there isn't really many stock failures put after that happens, that's where everything can spiral. And there have been many incidents where stablecoins have failed, and if you look at the failures, it's because of this correlation in this relationship. So a previous method attempted was a rebase model, which is common. It's in the case of Ampleforth. It was functioning on adjusting the market supply in correlation with the market rate for the coin. So if the token went higher than 1.05, more tokens are included into supply, and then when it dips below 0.95, the coins are destroyed from supply. So supply correction does not depend on the previous rebase, and then price action only cared about the market price. So concerns of this are the short-term supply changes affecting price. The changes of market supply of token distribution can affect the person holding the rebase stablecoin, which can cause the coins to fluctuate in price in your wallet, which no one wants to look at. And then another method that has been used in algorithmic supply stablecoins is the coin model method. It's if the value of the coin surpasses $1, new tokens are created and then given to the holder that agreed to the governance. So some concepts emerge where they send a portion of that liquidity generated from the price going above $1 to liquidity pool, and then lending that out, and then becoming a liquidity provider, and then making the difference in a liquidity pool. In this case, the asset goes below $1, the holders received a coupon or a bond. Eventually the value recovers, and at that time they can redeem their coupons. However, the problem is if they don't return in value within a set time, or they never return in value, then you're stuck holding worthless coupons. So problematic again. And then the basis cash protocol, which is considered a fork of the coupon model. It's where the stablecoin raises funding for VCs. The token gains value from buying and selling bonds, depending on the asset, and the network controls the asset market. Henceforth, it maintains its value and makes sure the value stays at $1. So as we've noticed from the methods described with algorithmic stablecoins, they all benefit from usage. The more people use them, the more volume can be generated, the more yield that can be put back into the stablecoin. It's like growing a chichia pet, So, however, it's problematic because when you think about what is its base, if you guys didn't use it, it wouldn't maintain its peg. And essentially that's what I'm getting from my research. So I don't know if I trust that, because if it's not being utilized correctly, it cannot maintain its peg. And that's what we're looking at with this whole USD Terra situation, and where it just went off a cliff. So to briefly skim about UST, it was the most popular algorithmic stablecoin, the third largest stablecoin by market cap. That's crazy. And then and this is tricky. So it maintained its dollar peg through an algorithm that encouraged traders to take advantage of any price changes to the stablecoin. The system relies on the traders burning or creating tokens for profits to maintain its peg. So this process works through UST's pairing with its sister, Luna. So every time a UST token is minted, the equivalent of $1 of Luna is burned, right? You purchase UST and 1 Luna is burned, and vice versa. When the price of UST drops below $1, traders are encouraged to burn USD and remove it from circulation, and received Luna at a discounted rate. Because there is less UST changing in digital hands, the price should theoretically go up to $1, again, to maintain its peg. And again, just quickly reviewing how they intrinsically work together. Once that balance is thrown off, Luna is going to spiral downward, and UST can't recover. And that in theory is the problem. It's supposed to work, but in the case that it does not work, due to all the protocols, usage, and the yield bearing, and that's why we saw such a monumental crash like that. So hybrid stable coins are when they combine two or more crypto categories and basically perform as a combined asset and algorithmic model. One example of this is the stablecoin reserve. We love due to tangibility. They're typically backed by hard tangible assets such as silver, gold, palladium, rhodium, and platinum. We love this because the value is openly trackable. Investors are not limited to one type of metal. They allow people to purchase fractionalized gold, which is typically physically hard to come by. In the case of gold, it is a fraction of 1 gram of gold. We also love this because the price correlation would be upheld by a standard stable asset. One example of metal-backed stablecoins is PMGT, PAX Gold. The only downside is how the stablecoin is presented in the reserves and the way that they track price in accordance to the value of the crypto. In the case of gold, you can only acquire so much at a time, so eventually it just becomes an issue, just as it was with our own Federal Reserve, like how much gold can they acquire to match the buyers of the stablecoin in some context. That's why we removed from the gold standard, because at one point we couldn't own all the gold in the world. So it's like, how far can we accumulate to represent our reserve? In the case of PAX-G, every token is backed by one fine troy ounce of 400-ounce London gold bar, and it's stored in a Brinks vault. They provide a way to look up the address and receive a serial gold number of the gold bar that it's pegged and backed to in regarding to their individual token. And yes, there is such thing as physical transparency and proof of value, which is what we would. And in terms of mass adoption, I think this is cool on an international level, because if you think about it, like traveling or different countries will accept. I think it'll be much easier to use a metal stablecoin, because everyone has an assigned value to silver or gold or a precious metal in their country. So it'll be, redeemable for that value in that country. And that isn't a situation where it's like, oh, I don't want to accept your currency because my country, I've heard about in Dubai, them choosing to use other currency except, aside from the American dollar. And it's like, well, with stablecoin and it's pegged to metal, it really doesn't have a country affiliation. Some of them do, because some of them, the vaults are based there, and that's its root. But it's not, if you think about it, it really doesn't matter. It matters about the item itself and its traditional value that's pretty much equivalent across the country. And I think that's cool to have an asset that is priced similar in each different country's economy. It's a fair asset in some context. So I personally feel comfortable with that thought process. It's easy to gauge its value, and then it's easy to be redeemable in different fiat currencies if sold on an exchange or something of that nature. So I don't understand why we don't put more money, time, and energy into this. I mean, because I don't understand